You're missing the point. We don't fish for the fish. 90% of what I like about this sport, and it is a sport, is sitting in the boat for 5 hours doing nothing.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Autumn and I love to crochet. Today's video we are going to be rating TikTok crochet advice. So I have been crocheting since I was like 13, 14, something like that. I don't even remember the first time I picked up a crochet hook, but I didn't really have social media as a kid learning how to crochet. It was like, you know, the old school like magazine tutorials that you could find. It was tips from my mom, and then it was mostly just trial and error. So we are going to be rating some TikTok crochet tips and tricks just to see kind of what's out there, what's being shared with the kids nowadays. I want to know, is it any good or is it trash? So for today's project, I am working on a scrub like kitchen towel. I am using the Scrubology cotton from Hobby Lobby, and this is the color, oh gosh, let's see, what color is this? Al fresco. All right, so tell me what you guys are working on in the comments below. I would love to see photos if you want to share and post on my community, on my page. But yeah, let's jump right into it. So this first video is from Nako. I'm so sorry, I probably just totally butchered that, but let's see what she has to say.
Here's a couple of tips and tricks that helped me level up my crocheting in the past couple of years. One of the first ones is definitely starting the actual chain and then where to place your actual stitch. Most patterns will tell you to crochet into the V's. I have found it so much more helpful when you crochet into the back bumps of the chain. You'll completely turn the chain over and then you'll crochet into the bottom of the chain where those little ridges and bumpies stick out of it. That way when you place your stitches, the V's are going to be showing on the bottom of whatever you're crocheting. And I just think this makes everything look so much cleaner. Here you can see I have the V's on the top and the bottom of the single crochet chain, and I just think it makes it look so much cleaner, especially if you're going to be sewing up panels together.
Okay, yes, so when I first started crocheting, and probably for like a good, 5 years or so, I would just do, working into the actual V of the single crochet and a foundation chain. And if you guys know anything about crochet, foundation chains suck. They are not fun. They're a pain in the ass, especially if you're like trying to do, a blanket or anything that's like a good size and you need a very long foundation chain. Oh my God, just shoot me out. I have since then, learned that you can do the back bumps. And when I figured that out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing because it looks just so much cleaner. My tension would always be kind of off and on as I was learning to crochet. And I've found that, when I was crocheting into just the V of the chain, it was ugly. It was so bad. And when I moved on to doing the back bumps, it looked just so much cleaner. And also like gave the project like a better base to start with. And I don't know, it just made it look like a totally different project than what I was doing before. Now that's not to say that it still doesn't suck, because it does. It blows. I freaking hate foundation chains. I think anyone can agree that it is the worst. Also, this Scrubology yarn, hate it so much. I fucking hate making anything with this yarn. It is super, like, how would you explain it? Tangly, I guess is the best word. My hair's all in it, sorry. And so this is what the string looks like. So there's just like all these little, bumps and stuff on it, and you have to use a bigger hook than what you would want to use, and that is because it just gets caught on the yarn as it's coming back through the stitches that you're making, and God, it's the worst. So for, back bumps on this, it wasn't happening. It was not happening. I can barely even see the stitches as it is. I love how these turn out because I do use them for my kitchen. I think it's just a really nice tool to have around my kitchen, especially if I don't want to use my sponge. But yeah, God, this fucking sucks. So anyways, this was some solid advice because I really do think that the back bumps of, your foundation chain, working through those looks a lot better. It looks cleaner. So let's move on.
Next tip I have is definitely to help a little bit more with double crochets. This is a little tutorial for a stacked single crochet. First, you're going to just input a single crochet into that first stitch, and then place your hook through the middle of that single crochet when you have 2 loops on there. Yarn over and pull up 2 loops, and then finish your single crochet. And this honestly I think just helps a lot more with making your edges look straight. It also just makes everything look so much neater without that chain too, and then you do your double crochet. Here's an example of how it looks laid out, and I just think it looks so much cleaner and crisper and just more seamless.
Also very solid advice. When I learned how to do a stacked single crochet, it changed my life because I have always thought that the chain 2 and then do another stitch within that same first stitch, it just looks bold, compared to the rest of the stitches, because you are quite literally adding what appears to be 2 double crochets into the same stitch. I think this is really solid advice, and a very good trick for a lot of people, because I don't think a lot of people know about the stacked single crochet when you're just starting out. It's not really something that is taught. The stacked single crochet, it just makes it it just looks so much cleaner, straighter edges. You don't have that extra bulkness at the beginning of each row. I think it just turns out, a lot better, especially if you're going to add a border to something. So I think this is also solid advice.
I've honestly found doing foundation chains for any stitch that I'm doing to be the most helpful, biggest game changer I've ever done. Here's a little tutorial on how to do a foundation chain for a half double crochet stitch. We chain 2 and then place our hook into that first bump that we made on the back of that chain. Yarn over and then pull through 1 loop only, and then we are going to pull through all 3 loops. When we pull through that first loop only, that is what creates that foundation chain at the bottom. Next, we're going to yarn over and then place our hook into that bottom chain that we just made. It might be a little bit hard to see from my angle, but we're just going into that bottom chain, yarning over until we have 3 loops on our hook. Again, pull only through that first loop, and then yarn over and then complete your half double crochet stitch by pulling through all 3 loops. And then you just keep doing this until you get to the length that you want. So you'll keep repeating that pattern of yarning over, going through that bottom chain that we just made, pulling through 1 loop, yarning over, and then pulling through all 3 loops to complete your half double crochet. This helps a little bit if your tension's a little bit looser, especially if you're going to be connecting the pieces. Again, she just comes out so seamless. There is a chain on the bottom and the top, and it looks great. The last thing that was a huge game changer.
Okay, so I agree that a foundation chain, it makes the project so much easier, because like I said, if you're doing a major project, like a blanket sized project or something where the chain is 400 stitches long, I think foundation chain is a game changer. It is a lifesaver for those foundation chain horrors of a project. However, I don't think it's very beginner friendly personally, because it is confusing. I would say an advanced crocheter. I'm not an expert, but I hate foundation chains. I hate them so much, and maybe it's just because I haven't actually practiced it enough to have it down, muscle memory. But oh my god, I fucking hate them. I know they are easier in the long run, and it does make it look really crisp and clean and really nice, but I can't stand foundation chains. So this is good advice for maybe someone who's not a beginner, maybe an intermediate, so they can learn that early and incorporate that into their muscle memory of starting crochet projects. But god, I hate doing it myself. That's not to say this is not bad advice. It's just I wouldn't, if I was an advanced and that's not to say this is bad advice, because it's not. It's just I can't do the foundation chain all the time. It's really hard.
Was how I make my magic circles. So if you can see here, I wrapped the yarn twice around my fingers and then I made that X by crossing it over those yarn, putting my hook under those 2 loops and then grabbing that yarn that crossed over. And this I find just makes it so much more secure when you're making a magic ring. Got to pull out the tail just because it can get a little bit messy in here. Here I am chaining one and doing a stacked single crochet similar to how we did earlier in the video. And then I'm placing 10 double crochets in this ring just as an example. I can't stop staring at my nails, they're so bad. Please don't ever look at them or make a comment about them again, I'm sensitive. Here I'm still placing those 10 double crochets for the example. And once you get to the end, you'll see that there's 2 loops in the middle. We'll pull on the tail and you'll see that one of the strings gets smaller. You're going to find that string and then we're going to pull on that string individually. This will tighten up the other string that's sticking out a little bit more to close that circle. And then you're just going to pull on the tail to close the entire ring up. And then you'll just slip stitch into whatever starting stitch that you had for this round. And you'll slip stitch into your starting stitch and then weave in the ends for your magic ring as well. I just find this so much more secure. Hopefully these tips are helpful for you guys. Thanks. Bye.
So I think there are just so many ways to make a magic ring. I don't think this is bad advice. This actually looks like a very simple way to make a magic ring. Again, there are just so many different ways that you can make one. So I wouldn't say this is bad. She made it really nice and simple and straightforward. For, you know, beginners who don't know what a magic ring is and, you know, they're struggling, this looks like a solid way that you could potentially learn to do a magic ring. If you are new to magic rings and you've never done one, I have a video up here. It's like 5 minutes long, super easy. I think my, you know, preferred way is a lot simpler, because you're just crossing it and making an X. She added like a whole other wrap and then she's going under 2 and over 1, I think is what I saw. So it's not bad, but there's so many ways that you can make a magic ring. I don't think there's like one of the best ways, because it really does depend on like how you hold your project, how you hold your yarn, how you hold the hook. Like I think all of that plays into how it's going to be comfortable for you to make a magic ring without making it like difficult and then stressing you out and then making it maybe too tight and then your yarn breaks. Oh my god, that's the fucking worst. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. I mean, she made it really simple and straightforward. So next up we are going to watch this video. It says you're hiding your yarn tail wrong. That's actually really solid. I actually like that. I have seen similar ways where you can hide your tail as you're going. Obviously I have not hid this one. I hide mine a little bit differently, and sometimes I don't even really hide it at all, like until the very end. But I actually really like this. I might steal this. It looks really, really nice at the end. You can't even tell where the tail was. So that one was a good video.
You say slow down. I don't like to move too fast. It drowns the truth with things that are not real, and I really want us to be real with love that lasts. In the past I messed up, gave too much. What is it with time? Why can't we unwind? And all the hurt we deal with, I wanna leave my cares behind.
Okay, so to me, that just looks like a normal color change. I think it's kind of odd that she finished it, pulled it out, and then stuck it back into those 2 loops on the previous stitch. I have always done, you know, like you are about to finish the stitch and then you change into, you know, you pull the other color through. I feel like that just makes it a little bit more difficult, in my opinion. But you know, I think some people make these videos that's like, oh, this is so easy, and it's like more of a complicated thing because they want people to be like, whoa, how did you do that? Like, do that again, please. You know, it's almost like they're farming comments in a way. Like, that's just my opinion, that's just how I feel. Sometimes people make things like that should be easy look a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I think this was just a very normal way to color change. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe most people don't know how to color change this way. I don't know. I kind of thought that was like common knowledge, but I could be totally off base there. So if I am, please correct me in the comments. Feel free to roast me if I'm just being an idiot. Yeah, I think she could have done like a little bit more explaining, in my opinion. She didn't really like slow down much, but yeah, I think this was okay. Definitely hard to follow if you're like a brand new crocheter, but let's see what's next.
Is crocheting hard? It's a question I get asked a lot. So I'm going to help you make crocheting easier when you're just starting out. You may see lots of people using gorgeous chenille yarn like this and think, that is the perfect yarn to get started. But I'm telling you, it is not. Although it's lovely and thick, because it is so fuzzy, when the stitches come together, you actually can't see them, so you don't know where to put your hook in. Also, due to the way that it's made with these fluffy fibres, it really easily sheds, and you do not need to be contending with that when you're first starting out. Instead, I recommend a DK or a cotton yarn, because once you've made your stitches, it'll be much easier to see. Next up is hooks, and when you first get started, you might be tempted to buy a set that has lots of different sizes in, and they are all metal hooks like this. But spoiler alert, they are so tricky to hold and just really, really fiddly, and doesn't make crocheting enjoyable at all. Instead, I recommend buying a set of ergonomic hooks. They don't need to be branded, they just need to have this lovely squishy handle on it. And what really helps is they've got like these little thumb marks here, so it really helps to know where you hold your hook. And then actually your hook is facing the right way, so it'll make it much easier and much smoother to crochet with. Next, it might be tempting to start with something super cute like a plushie, but you need to perfect the basics first. And sometimes that's just crocheting side to side and learning the different stitches, so single crochet, double crochet, etc. Or you can try a granny square, and what's great about them is you can learn lots of stitches at once. Finally, don't strive for perfection. If you're just starting out, you're never going to be able to make a granny square that looks like this, or a plushie that looks like this, and that is absolutely fine. The thing you make to begin with will look like an absolute alien that has been delivered from space, and that's fine. Just learning and progressing and changing your style, changing your hook, changing the yarn, you'll soon get used to how everything comes together, and you'll find a type of crochet that you love. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions about crocheting, or if you've got any top tips to help beginners.
Okay, I actually really liked her video. The thing about the hooks, yes, I fucking hate this hook. I hate it so much, and I have been crocheting for a long time, but I can't find my 6.5 anywhere that has like the squishy handle. So here I am sucking it up because I started this project and then I was like, oh my god, I need a bigger hook because this yarn is so impossible to work with. So I had to find a bigger hook, and this was the only 6.5 I could find. So I would never suggest this hook to a beginner because they are just slippery. They are hard to handle. If you are new and you're trying to figure out how to hold your yarn, hold your project, hold your hook, like this is not the hook to do that with. The yarn thing is very valid because if you're using the wrong type of yarn or like a difficult yarn type, it is going to make you hate to learn to crochet and you're not going to want to do it. For example, I am about to throw this fucking towel. I hate it so much, but I know the end project is going to be worth it. I'm doing like a really cute pattern. It is basically a single crochet in one stitch and then a triple crochet in the next, and then single crochet, triple, you know, so on and so forth. And that's in US terms. I really like this pattern. It's really fun. It makes like a cute little like bubbly texture. It has like little bumps. And it's great for like a scrubbing towel for your kitchen, you know, like it's perfect. But this yarn is so annoying that I would never suggest something like this to a beginner, because they would quit within 10 minutes and never pick up a crochet hook again. So her advice there is very solid. Don't ever start with amigurumi when you are trying to learn how to crochet. It's just not a good idea, because you're gonna want to perfect it, and there's so much that goes into it. There's the yarn, there's the stuffing, there's the safety eyes, there's sewing. Like there's just so much that goes into amigurumi, and it's just not, I think, the route to go if you are just learning crochet. It's a fast way to making that hobby just die right there for you. But yeah, this was really solid advice.
Want to learn how to crochet super fast? Watch this video until the end. So the first trick is how you're holding the yarn and how you're holding your hook. So how I hold my yarn is I pinch, I put it in between these 3 fingers, 1, 2, 3, and then I wrap it around my index finger, right? And then how I hold my hook is I hold it the knife way. You can hold it the, what is this way? Pencil way? The pencil way or the knife way, doesn't matter, but I hold it the knife way. And the trick, the number one trick, is that you're using the hand that the hook is in more than you're using this hand, okay? So when I insert it, I'm using this hand. And when I wrap it, I don't even wrap it with this hand. I just hold it up and I pull it with the same hand that the hook is. And then the same thing, wrap it and I pull it. So literally this hand is doing most of the work, and this hand is just holding the yarn up to use this hand to wrap it, if that makes sense. So this is how it looks slow. You see how this hand really never moved. So I'm gonna do it fast. See? If you want more tutorials like this, make sure you follow me right now.
No. Well, first of all, I don't think this was a tutorial of any sorts, and no hate to this creator. You know, this is just my opinion, how I feel about stuff. No, this was not a tutorial in the way I think she thought it was. There are so many things that factor into why someone would be a fast crocheter versus a slow crocheter. And personally, how you use one hand more than the other is just not good advice. Because some people use their left, you know, if they're a right-handed crocheter, some people will use the left hand more than the right, and they are very fast. So I don't necessarily agree that this is like the way how to fix how fast or how slow you crochet. And again, I think it also boils down to the project, the stitches that you're doing. And this, it looks like she's just doing single crochets. You know, for this one, for example, when I have to do a treble, it is very difficult to feed it through the stitch and not get caught somewhere. So if I'm, you know, going and I am just doing it quickly, it's gonna get stuck because this yarn freaking sucks to work with. So I kind of have to take a more meticulous approach to this yarn, because I don't want to stretch out my stitches. I want them to be nice and uniform. I want them to look good. And so like when you stretch it out, it doesn't look horrible. it looks nice and clean, and I wouldn't get that same effect if I was just like trying to do it as fast as I can. With that said, you know, some people might see this and be like, oh yeah, that makes more sense, because they might be overcomplicating it and like using their left hand more than their right, and then when they try to adjust that, it has like a huge difference for them. I really don't think this is helpful advice for someone who is just trying to learn how to crochet, and you know, they're trying to like learn the basics first. And I think you need to have a solid grasp on what you're doing and the flow of how you handle the yarn, the project, the needle, all of it, or sorry, the hook. So I think that is important first before you just jump into, oh, you need to use your left hand less and just go faster. Again, no hate to this creator. I just don't think this was very solid advice, personally. And I don't think this was necessarily a tutorial. So
Have your crochet stitches been coming out too loose or so tight that you can't even stitch back into your chain? Let's learn about tension. Tension is dependent upon the length of yarn that you leave between your work and your index finger. If it's a longer length of yarn, your tension will be looser, and if it's a shorter length of yarn, the tension will be tighter. The correct tension may change depending on the project or the type of yarn you're using, but you want to go for a length of yarn that gives you a consistent pace of stitching.
okay, I half agree with this and I half don't. So yes, I do think the tension kind of boils down to like how you're holding your project and like what space you're giving between the point where you're pulling and the hook. I don't necessarily think that that's the only thing that affects the tension of your project, because you can have it super duper close but have it loosely held and your tension still suck. Like I think it's a combination of all of it, right? You want to have the correct spacing, you want to have the correct tension of how you are squeezing your hand and how much like you're pulling, because if you're squeezing your fist more and you're trying to pull, it's not going to go as much. But if you loosen up a little bit and you're just kind of guiding it, it's going to go a lot more easier. And so that plays into how you are also inserting the hook, how much you're pulling up, you know, like are you pulling it tightly? Are you pulling it up to be the same level as the row you're working on? So I think all of that plays into tension, and not necessarily just the one thing of how close your working yarn is from your project. I don't think that's very accurate. I think it is a piece of the puzzle, but it's definitely not the entire puzzle. So, you know, not the greatest advice, but a solid place to start if you have no idea what is wrong with your tension and you're trying to figure it out. Tension, I think, is not something that can be taught necessarily. You have to kind of trial and error. You have to learn how to effectively hold you know, all the moving parts in order for your project to flow right. And I think that's where your tension will be found. Again, I think it's not necessarily something that you can just sit down and teach someone within a 20-second video. I think it truly boils down to you just doing the work, doing the trial and error process, figuring out how you feel comfortable to hold your project and your hook and all of that. And then mostly it just comes to practice makes perfect. You know, you have to keep crocheting, you have to keep practicing, you have to work through the ugly to get to the good with crochet, and it takes a lot of patience. So I don't necessarily think you can just solve your tension by how close you hold it. I definitely think it plays a part of it. It's just not the whole pie, you know? So that was just my opinion.
I posted these pictures on my story, and it was brought to my attention that a lot of us actually don't know how to make our stitches look this clean. So I'm here to help. I'm going to try to explain this as fast as possible. This is the right side and this is the wrong side. And to make it easier for you to see the stitches, I'm going to be doing the demonstration with some orange yarn. Starting off with a chain, I'm going to be using half double crochets, so I'm going to go in the third loop from the hook. And I'm just going to start by doing one row of half double crochets. At the end of the row, I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to turn my work. And this is where it gets important. When you're crocheting, if you put your finger through your work, you will feel 1, 2, and 3 strands of yarn at the top, okay? And yes, I know it's very hard for you to see that I'm using this fluffy yarn, but trust me, 1, 2, 3 are there. At this point, I'm going to decide that this is going to be my wrong side and this is going to be my right side. So when you are crocheting with your wrong side facing you, you want to be making your half double crochets in the middle and the back loop, meaning that you will not be inserting your hook here. You're going to insert your hook here. When you get to the end of the row, you're going to do that one more time. Chain 2, turn your work. This is the right side of your work. So when you're working on the right side, you're going to go into the front and the middle. See what I'm saying? So anytime you're working on the wrong side, or technically every other row, you're gonna crochet in the middle and the back loops. And when you're crocheting on the right side, you're gonna be crocheting in the middle and the front loops. One more at the end, chain 2, turn your work. Wrong side, middle and back for the wrong side. End of the row, chain 2, flip it to the right side, front and middle for the right side. Basically, all you have to remember is that every other row, you're going to change the stitches that you are crocheting in. Okay, bye.
I don't think this is like a very good lesson on right side versus wrong side. I do think this is a helpful like tutorial on how to make your stitches look really clean when you're doing something like the half double crochet. I just don't think this was helpful overall to kind of label this as right side versus wrong side crochet. Like, I disagree. Now, the thing with crochet is, gosh, this is a very old craft, right? This has been around for a while, right? No one invented this in our time. Like, so with that said, it has been, you know, changed and adapted, and people will come up with their own stuff and then kind of like normalize it. And you know, I think it's very simple for your own ideas and your own processes to kind of become what you would expect someone's normal to be, and that's just not the case. So sometimes, you know, people will post something similar to this and it's like, this is the wrong side, like you can only do this on the wrong side, and that's not necessarily applicable across the board. Sure, it made this project look really nice because she's using the half double crochet, but in my opinion, you know, it's not valid for everything. You know, I'm not saying this is terrible advice. I just think that when you are learning and you are trying to understand you know, basic concepts of crochet, don't take things at face value and think that that is the rule across the board. You know, it's something else that you can learn from somebody else who is good at crochet. That's simply that. It's not the, you know, golden rule for learning. So, you know, for me personally, wrong side versus right side is, and again, I could be so wrong versus what the rest of the community thinks, because crocheting is really a personalized craft. Like, you can crochet how you want, and you can like make your own assumptions and ideas and your own like personal rules that works well for your projects, you know. So for me, wrong side versus right is literally where the tail is. So if I am looking at this and, you know, then it flips over, for me, this is the right side, right? So this is where the tail is. This is the right side. The back of my project is the wrong side. Does that make sense? So if I'm looking at the top of my project and my tail is on the bottom left of my personal view, that's the right side. If it's flipped and now the tail is on my right side, where it's the opposite of where I started the project, this is the wrong side. And to me, that makes sense. For me and my projects, I can understand that. For every project that I apply it to, like, it just makes sense for me. You know, someone like this creator, she could have a totally opposite idea about that and think she's 100% right, and she is, for the way she crochets and for the way that she applies, you know, that logic. So I don't think this is bad per se. I just think it is, you shouldn't generalize things like that, because it might not be correct across the board for most people. So yeah, just my opinion.
I just started crocheting, and these are like the best beginner tips I can give you as like a fucking beginner. First tip, watch videos and like watch them slowly. Don't do both at the same time, trust me. Like take in the video, focus on it. If you're focusing on both at once, it just won't fucking work. Number 2, download Craftbook, like the crocheting app. Craftbook literally has everything you fucking need. It has like video tutorials on there, and it has like a magnifying glass feature where you can like zoom in on the shit and see exactly what they're doing. That helps me a lot. It's got like unlimited patterns to learn. It's got tutorials, no like hard PDF document shit. It low-key teaches you a lot. Number 3, this one's kind of like a little bit of advice, but you're gonna be spending a little bit of money with, yeah, loops and threads equipment. The crocheting hooks, the yarn from Loops and Threads brand, I went to Michael's to get it. It came out to like $50. $50 fucking dollars. So basically just like focus on the videos, you know, watch them slowly, download Craftbook, and just know you're gonna be spending just a decent little bit amount of money, but it's fun, you know? It's okay, it's not like crazy expensive, but it's definitely
I love his energy. You can tell he's just started learning. He's giving his 2 cents on the craft. And what I can agree with is, yeah, you're going to spend some money with crochet because you need all the material. You can't just like make do with stuff you have around the house, you know? You need the crochet hooks. You need the yarn. You need other stuff. You can make do without like stitch markers. You can like use, you know, a cut up piece of yarn as a stitch marker. So there's things that you can get around, but yeah, you're gonna spend money with crochet, like you just are. And then you become, you know, obsessed with finding other yarns that you are like to you or like to die for, and you're like, I have to have this, but you can't just have one, because what kind of project can you make with one skein? You have to have, you know, multiple. So then you're buying up lots of different skeins, and then you leave with, you know, like $80 spent, and you're like, oh my god, all I needed was one more skein of yarn to finish my other project. So yeah, I think this was solid, because I think a lot of people go into crochet and they're like, oh yeah, it's just a cheap little hobby that I can just do and I can just be calm and enjoy it. No. It's stressful. It's you know, it tests your patience. It is pricey because you want all the nice yarn, and it's very time consuming, and you know, it is not for the weak. Let's just say that it's not for the weak. If you think that crochet is just like this thing that's so easy and anyone can do it, and it's like, why do people do that? Because it's just so boring. You don't know until you do it. So yeah, I think this is a great video. So this is how far I got in my project today. I think I did like 2 or 3 rows, which is pretty impressive for how annoying this freaking yarn is. So I figured we would leave off this video with a funny reaction video, and I just love this person. So
next step is to fold in the cheese.
What does that mean? What does fold in the cheese mean?
He folds it in.
I understand that, but how do you fold it? Do you fold it in half like a piece of paper and drop it in the pot, or what do you do?
David, I cannot show you everything.
Okay, well, can you show me one thing?
Is to fold in the
so valid, because it is, when you're learning how to crochet, you're like, wait, can you do that again? I don't get what you just did. Like, where did you put that? So I think this was chef's kiss. So funny. And with that, that's everything I have for you in today's video. Again, let me know what project you are working on down in the comments. I would love to see them if you want to post them on my community tab. And you guys, I finally got my channel monetized. I'm so excited. So this is the first video I am posting as a monetized channel. So if you see the hype button down there, don't forget to press that. It would mean so much. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and liking this video. And I will see you in my next one.